In my first year of high school, I had a lot to learn. I had no idea who I was and who I'd grow up to be. In a lot of ways, I still don't, but when I look back on that first year of my teenage life, there was one thing that made the biggest impact on me and my growth as a person. That thing was a game. My two best friends at the time had, in their own ways, both left me behind. One had moved to a city hours away from our small town home, and while I would still see him from time to time, it was never the same. The other had changed a lot in his first year, and we had grown distant. Acknowledging waves in the hall at school were about all the mutual interaction we had anymore. It was lonely, and while I would soon find new friends and make unforgettable memories with them, there was still a period of time where it felt like there was no one else like me. One thing kept me going. It gave me the diligence to never give up, the expression to show my feelings, the understanding to empathize with others, the knowledge to give others my support, and the courage to find my true self. That thing was a game, and that game was Persona 4. Persona 4 is a masterpiece of a video game. Its cast of characters feel real. They struggle to deal with concepts of gender identity and sexuality. They learn to deal with death and how to move forward after a devastating loss. Its world is grounded and real, but has just enough supernatural goings-on to make the rural town setting feel just a bit more fantastical than the one that I lived in. I felt safe knowing that every day after school I could escape into a world where everything made sense. Whether I was fighting monsters in the TV world or hanging out with the investigation team at Juness, I knew that I had friends who had my back. On those late nights, within the bright light of my television screen on the floor of my bedroom, I felt at home. I had friends. This game has affected me more deeply than any other has managed to in the years since. As I get older and I look forward to making games of my own, I find myself spending more time dissecting games than I do playing them. So today I want to take you with me on a journey to pick at the innards of one of my favorite games of all time. What exactly makes Persona 4 such an amazing experience? Let's find out. Now before I get into any of the nitty-gritty, and oh trust me I will, I think a quick rundown of the plot is in order. You play as the protagonist, who moves to the rural town of Inaba for his second year of high school. Shortly after his arrival, he hears rumor of a mysterious midnight channel that, when viewed, would reveal one's soulmate. As most rumors tend to be, it is, for the most part, false. While the Midnight Channel does exist, it instead reveals the future victim in a series of strange murders that have begun occurring in the town. After a crazy dream, gains the power to no-clip his way into the TV that leads to another world. Now, you must team up with your new friends, Chie, Yosuke, Yukiko, Kanji, Rise, Naoto, and Teddy, to investigate this TV world and its connection to the murders. The team works their way through dungeons themed after the inner struggles of each character's selves, fighting monsters and unveiling the truth behind the supernatural murder mystery. After defeating and eventually coming to terms with their own shadow, a being that represents the part of the personality that we hide from the world, each member of the investigation team obtains control of a persona, a manifestation of their true self. These two concepts are the basis for a large portion of the main character's development in the story, and are based on the work of a real-life German psychiatrist, Carl Jung. According to Jung, the persona is a kind of mask, designed on the one hand to make a definite impression upon others, and on the other to conceal the true nature of the individual. Or as the game puts it, the facade used to overcome life's hardships. Jung theorizes that the mask of the persona is necessary for the individual to function properly in society, because without any kind of filter, our shadow, the more instinctual and primal side of ourselves, will take full control. He also stresses that a complete reliance on the persona can make our personalities shallow, brittle, or conformist, and we'll lose the self that exists behind that mask. This struggle to balance both the light and dark sides of ourselves mirrors that of the characters in the game. Within each of the characters' personal dungeons, they're faced with confronting their true selves. They must accept that while this darker part of their psyche is not one they would easily admit to, it's still very much a part of themselves. Only after accepting their shadows can they manifest their persona and wield it proudly. Persona 4 uses its gameplay to tell its story and develop its characters without the use of any dialogue. Gameplay mechanics convey its themes and core concepts in ways you may not even notice at first glance. To illustrate this, let's take a deep look at the boss fight against the shadows of one of my favorite characters, Kanji. Kanji is your classic street punk. He skips school, gets into fights, and won't deal with anyone giving him crap. But behind that persona, see what I did there? He's actually a very sensitive guy. He takes care of his mother and helps her run a quaint little textile shop in the shopping district. In his free time, he likes to knit and make stuffed animals. Because of this, he has a lot of anxiety about how others perceive him. He's a man, and he wants more than anything for others to see him that way. This is what makes him so hostile in the first place. He's worried that people might find out how he actually is, thinking less of him or calling him gay or girly. This struggle with gender stereotypes and fitting the roles they suggest are reflected in all facets of the design of the fight against his shadow. His shadow manifests itself as a hulking man. This menacing figure is contrasted by a bed of roses atop his shoulders. Within them rests Kanji, naked and blushing. He's carried atop his image of what a man should be, while still being confined by his more embarrassing feminine side. He lashes out, literally using his gender to fight off anyone who tries to reach his feminine side. Protecting him are more images of manliness. Two large, bulky men assist him in the fight. During the early stages of the battle, these allies will cast barrier spells on Shadow Kanji. He uses his image of what a man should be to literally shield his more feminine side. It's only after breaking down these gender barriers that Kanji learns to accept himself and obtain his persona. Even the names of the shadows in this fight reinforce the symbolism. When targeting Kanji, he's labeled as Nice Guy, while the two men are named Tough Guy. Although Persona 4 utilizes the design of its combat encounters to reinforce its themes, they are only one of the ways in which it conveys its core concepts throughout the game. Persona 4's soundtrack was composed by the musical genius Shoji Meguro. Meguro is known for implementing nearly every genre of music in his soundtracks. Despite this, he always manages to keep a cohesive sound between his works. While using music to tie moments together thematically and tonally is nothing new to the world of video games, I feel that Meguro takes this a step further through his use of certain motifs. One of the strongest components of his pieces are his fantastically memorable melodies. He creates incredibly catchy melodies and then pushes them even further into your brain with endearing, anguish lyrics over top. While for the most part, the accents of the vocalists make the lyrics next to impossible to understand, there will always be a line or two that is crystal clear and serves to cement that part of the melody in your head. This line is usually also the title of the song, highlighting this fact even further. Now, I don't know how this affects native Japanese speakers and their experience of the songs, but I imagine it would be at least a little similar. Once he has ingrained one of these melodies into your head, he can then use it to solicit a very specific response out of you as a player. The example of this that I found most effective is the connection between each of the game's battle themes, and their eventual re-emergence during the end stages of the final boss battle. Now I'm going to try and keep this as spoiler-free as possible, but if you don't want to hear this music at all before playing the game, I'll leave a timestamp here for you to skip to. Ready? Then let's begin. This very long process of conditioning the player begins in the very first battle. This is where you are introduced to the song that will follow you on your journey through the entire game. Reach out to the truth.
Now I face up, I hold up, I reach out to the truth. On the rise, seeking to see all the whole moment. Yeah.
You first hear this song in the game's tutorial fight against two weak shadows. Interestingly, this version of the song starts during the second verse, with the guitar replacing the lyrics, as to not distract from the dialogue playing over the encounter. Even so, it still manages to stick that melody in your head. You finally hear the song in its full glory when you have your first enemy encounter in Yukiko's dungeon. For this and every future enemy encounter, the song starts off with a bang, that bang being the chorus, getting you excited and cheering you on to win the fight.
I speak justice to them. Now I face out, I hold out, I reach out to the truth of my life.
While this isn't the most fantastically written piece of lyricism, it nails the two functions that it's meant to serve. One is to simply be fun and catchy, as you're going to hear this every single time you fight an enemy. Although listening to the same song play over and over again for tens of hours can easily get grating, I can assure you, having listened to this song in as many different versions that exist, both in this game and in its spin-off titles, you will not get tired of it. Secondly, the song works as a constant reminder of the goal of your team, to reach out and find the truth. It ensures that by the time you reach the game's conclusion, you will love this song, and it will be associated with a huge amount of memories of battles, won and lost. The next song is less significant for its composition, although it's still quite fantastic. Instead, it serves to set a powerful backdrop for many of the game's most emotionally driven moments. The title of this song? I'll Face Myself. This song forgoes the upbeat J-pop lyrics that make Reach Out to the Truth such an effective battle theme, and instead opts to go for a powerful core melody that can be reused and remixed to fit the emotions of any scene that it's a part of. It's the main theme that plays during a majority of the game's boss battles, where it acts as a fast-paced rock song to get you excited for some of the hardest fights in the game. Following each of these fights, however, it's remixed as a slow piano ballad to reinforce the emotional significance of their conclusions. Even the title can be interpreted differently to fit each of these scenarios. Within the battle, it represents the characters facing their more primal emotions and attempting to settle them down by defeating them in battle. Afterwards, however, it slows down as the characters face their shadows in order to accept and assimilate them within their own selves. The emotional significance of both of these tracks come to their absolute peak during the game's climax. So the final fight begins, along with its battle theme, the fog. The enemy's obviously colossal power is reinforced through low but powerful strings and percussion. Even so, you're confident. You've made your way through every challenge that's been thrown at you. Surely you can do the same again. Strings playing at the same rhythm come in at a higher octave. It's time to fight. An electrified guitar riff kicks in and has your back throughout the rest of the fight. The first stage of this fight is rather easy as long as you've properly managed your personas up to this point. Things get a lot harder, however, when the boss reveals its true form and the final stage begins. With a new form comes a new song, Genesis. Once again, the song begins with low strings and percussion, and while our high strings return again, they're much quieter and more melancholy. This fight will be much more difficult than previously expected. Low trumpets drown out the strings. You struggle to regroup as the enemy's assault hits you even harder. Wave after wave of the strongest magic in the game slams your party into submission. It's going to take every ounce of energy and skill that you've accumulated over 80 plus hours of gameplay to overcome this challenge. Even so, all hope is not yet lost. As you finally begin to get some ground and stand back on your 2 feet, you hear this. The song that has accompanied every single heart-pumping and heart-wrenching moment as you sought for your true selves returns, to push you through the final battle. Now, while the low strings try to overtake the song once again, they're drowned out by the powerful melody that contains within it every memory you've made on your journey. Eventually, the menacing bottom end of the song fades out, and all that is left are somber brass and strings that signal the end of your arduous battle. And for one last time, you hear the chorus of Reach Out to the Truth, in a sweeping orchestral rendition that signals the end of the arduous journey that led to this point. You look back at the bonds you've made one more time before turning forward again to face the truths that you spent so long searching for. You can rest now. With the social links of those who care about you, you forge the path to a brighter future, and that future begins now. Creating powerful, narrative-driven moments like this through music is the quality that separates great composers from the master class. This tier includes the likes of Nobuo Uematsu and Akira Yamaoka, and is absolutely the rightful home for a composer of this quality. Persona 4 is a game about finding the truth, whether it's the murder mystery, our shadows, or the wishes of humanity as a whole. Everything in the game converges on this one central theme. It pushes us to pursue our true selves, reach out to the truth, and come out the other end as better people. Even the fact that this game has many different endings while still having one true finale enhances this thematic resonance with the player through gameplay. This game taught me to appreciate myself and those around me. It showed me through its masterful design and wonderful narrative that no matter how bad things get, there will always be new days. It's a game that's overflowing with love and care. Every inch of its presentation is awe-inspiring, and a prime example of what games can be. My only hope is that by watching this video, I've inspired you to go out and play this game for yourself. It is a life-changing experience, and you're doing yourself a disservice by not having already given it a shot. Hey everybody, welcome to the end slate. I just want to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. I've worked a whole lot on it, and it means a lot to me. I mean, really what I want to be doing with this video is just giving people a chance to see what games can do. It's an incredible medium that I think deserves more respect than maybe it's given, and I hope that through my series of YouTube videos I can sort of illustrate that in a fun, hopefully entertaining way. Now, before leaving you off, I want to give a bit of thanks to a couple people who helped me a lot making this. First of all, and most importantly, are my parents, especially my dad. He's the one that's letting me record this stuff in his studio, so thanks to him, he's a cool guy. And secondly, I just want to thank the guys at Atlas for making such fantastic games. I mean, Persona 4 is one of my favorites of all time, and they've certainly made others that I can say are just incredible, incredible games. And with Persona 5 on the horizon, I mean, I'm super pumped, so look forward to that and future videos from me, and otherwise, stay frosty. See ya.